never really been a big fan of toilet humour, you know, farting, pooping, peeing, that sort of thing, and yet here I am writing a review for a PS2 relic about a farting, pooping, peeing dog. I was 11 when Dog's Life first came out in 2003, and I begged my parents to buy it me for Christmas. Which almost didn't happen, as my poor mother ended up visiting 5 separate stores to try to find it, only to be told it had completely sold out. Cool, blimey, who would have thought a game about canine bodily functions could prove so popular, eh? She did eventually manage to secure a copy, bless her soul, and I spent the next 2 days digging, jumping, and pooping my way through one of the oddest games I'd ever experienced at the time. While it no longer strikes me as strange after playing it through once again over 15 years later, especially given the amount of insane games I've played since 2003, it certainly comes across as outdated. That's not to say it didn't make me chuckle on occasion or hit me with that sweet, sweet nostalgia, but it's definitely a product of its time. What I once saw as revolutionary, unique, and absolutely hilarious is now just an okay game with some fun gimmicks and 1 or 2 glaring issues. Dog's Life was developed by Frontier Developments, the very same company that gave us Jurassic World Evolution, 2013 Zoo Tycoon, and Kinectimals. Clearly they have a fondness for animals, so it's no surprise they conceived a game like Dog's Life, which maybe by today's standards is nothing special, but at the time I was blown away by the fact I could control this dog. I was the dog. I could make him bark whenever I wanted to. Chase cats. Do doggy activities such as dig holes and throw shit at people. Wait, what?
Dumb dog. He thinks he's cute. Where's the dog catcher? Quick! Filthy mutt.
And while the story for the most part is rather forgettable, it has a surprisingly dark twist near the end, which I suppose if you play this as an adult is actually pretty obvious, the clues are all there after all, but as a kid I was shooketh. Let me just point something out here too. This game was rated a 3+ in Europe, as in suitable for ages 3 and up. In the US, however, it was given a teen rating, and I have to agree with you Yankees on this one. Besides the ridiculous amounts of toilet humour and innuendo which you'd think would be completely unsuitable for tiny tots.
Hello, and welcome to Talking Pussy, here on Boom City's CATS Radio, the station dedicated to pretty pussies everywhere.
When I brought in my load, she blew her top.
Get your doggy asses into the big machine.
This game can be downright creepy at times as well. And if you're looking at this gameplay footage thinking, what the heck are you on about? Let me fill you in. We're having a nice romp through the fields. Let's play with the sheep and enjoy that fresh countryside air. Now we're in the snowy mountain tops. It's so tranquil up here, not a human being in sight. And now we've made it to the hustle and bustle of the big city. It's so bouncy and fun and exciting. Oh my god, where are we now? Why are all the trees dead? Where's the grass gone? Why is the sky all bloody? And the music? Dear Lord. As far as I remember, there is no other track in the game that sounds as eerie as this one. Let me give you an example of the music you listen to for 95% of this game. And now back to the dog pound. And if you thought it couldn't get any worse than this, wait till I show you the very last area. Anyway, we're jumping the gun a bit here, so let's go back to the beginning. The game starts off with a pre-rendered cutscene in the life of Jake the dog. He talks about how great being a dog is before... Wow, we're off to a good start, aren't we?
That's Daisy. Lately, she's been ignoring me. Well, we'll see about that.
Jeez Louise, we're not even a minute into this game!
Daisy?
Just a nitpick here, and I'm allowed to because this game just made me sit through 2 fart jokes in 1 minute. You hear a scuffle and Daisy starts whining as if in trouble, but you can still see her walking away while this happens, like nothing's wrong. Bloody lazy animators.
It smells nice out here in the country, don't it, Wayne?
I didn't know Sylvester Stallone was in the dog napping business. Clearly Spy Kids 3D didn't pay off back in 2003.
Who are you people? We are you.
You cannot be serious, Dwayne. The country's full of bugs. I'll be glad when we get to Lake Minniwahwah.
Wayne, can I play with them nice doggies?
For pity's sake, Dwayne, are you nuts? They're full of terrible diseases.
But I like doggies, Wayne.
I told you no.
Now, for me, these two are one of the more annoying aspects of Dog's life. And that's saying something for a game that doesn't hold back on the flatulence. It's a good joke. Okay, Dwayne's not too bad, he's just a big dope who's clearly in the wrong line of work given his love for dogs. But Wayne here, oh my god, do you ever shut up? I apologise to anybody who's had to listen to my high-pitched whiny voice, because hearing this guy complain constantly and sneeze every 3 seconds makes me want to perforate my own eardrums.
She says, why aren't we in Lake Minniwahwah?
Because, Dwayne, you are useless at reading road maps.
And they serve virtually no purpose in the game whatsoever. Sure, they capture Daisy at the beginning, giving Jake a reason to go off on his wild and wacky adventure, but that could have been all they had to do, and we'd never have to see them again. But no, they make regular, pointless appearances throughout the game, getting lost and recycling the same jokes about Dwayne's love of dogs and Wayne's allergies to them. Because sneezing is so funny. Okay, I suppose they're not completely pointless, as we are introduced to the true villain of the game through them, Miss Peaches. But given she only ever calls up to ask if they've rounded up more doggos, and it isn't till near the end of the game that we find out her true intentions, I could have done without the random cutscenes involving these two, and Dog's life would be no worse for not including them.
Well, did you collect some nice clean mountain dogs to supplement those nice clean Clarksville dogs?
Yes, Miss Peaches.
Excellent. I must have only the freshest, most organic animals. Deliver them to the Boom City Dog Pound. Now.
Anyway, the protagonist escapes due to sheer dumb luck, the game officially begins, and at some point between the cutscene ending and the game loading, Jake's been replaced by a plastic knockoff Barbie version of himself. Bloody hell, that must have been quite a tumble you took there, you've got no fur left!
Hey Jake, how's it hanging? Come on, I'll race you to the top of the hill.
Wow, I feel just like a real dog.
Well Jake, looks like I beat you fair and square.
Hey, that's Mr. Jake to you, Stinkfoot.
You're gonna get a lot of these funny quips from Jake throughout the game. To be honest, I can see why Daisy isn't keen. He's an extremely unlikable protagonist at times, spouting insults at people and even other dogs he comes across, and constantly referring to Daisy as mine, like she's just an object to own. And if it weren't for the fact I was playing a game that allows me to throw shit at people's faces, I probably wouldn't have given it much of a chance. Actually, no, I would have. I was a kid, so I was easily impressed. But if I'd played this for the first time as an adult, I probably still would have played it to the end. Never mind, let's just carry on.
Hey Jake, what's up with you? You okay? You look a little funny.
This right here is pretty much what the entire game is, collecting bones. They can be earned through a variety of ways, such as helping people with tasks, competing against the local dog in minigames, digging them up, and so on and so forth, blah blah blah. While it isn't necessary to collect every single one, you will need a minimum amount to progress further through the game, because occasionally, this ugly fecker, aptly named Killer, will turn up and stop you from continuing.
I'm gonna pursue my dream of programming computer games. Killer, you guard the entrance to Miss Peach's place.
They're also useful when you're competing against the local dog, as the more you have, the faster or stronger you'll be. Another method of collecting bones is by hunting down all the scents in a given area. Jake has a nifty ability known as Smellovision, and it's a pretty powerful tool to use, not just for locating scents, but also to help you navigate some of the trickier platforming sections this game has to offer, because let me tell you, the third-person camera can be a little bitch at times. I lost count of how often I accidentally launched Jake off a high platform because I couldn't quite tell which way he was facing due to third-person perspective issues. And then there was that time the third-person camera skitzed out and zoomed right inside our canine companion, to which Jake did a lovely impression of a turtle retracting its head. So yeah, you will spend most of your time in first-person Smellovision. 1, because it's easier to navigate, and 2, because it's the only way you can collect the aforementioned scents. You can't see them in third-person mode, and it's a bit of a shame in a way, as being in first-person means you miss out on some of the environmental details. I mean, it's not a massive deal, as the environments are a little bit hideous at times, but I do love the views the third-person camera shows off, especially when it zooms right out to give you your bearings. I mean, look at this view here. Sure, the graphics and textures are fuzzy by today's standards, but you can't deny the scale and grandeur the third-person camera gives to this place. And then there's the perspective you get given in the dog pound when trying to evade Killer. The third-person camera zooms right out to give you an idea of how far Killer is from Jake's position, as if he catches Jake, you have to restart this annoying key hunting quest all over from the beginning. But it also shows off a terrifying view of the hellish landscape our protagonist finds himself in. Spooky! There are multiple coloured scents to collect in each area bar the last 2, and depending on the colour, they unlock different things. For example, every area has 50 purple scents to find, and tracking them all down will reward Jake with a bone. Now, I did initially go into Dog's Life with the goal of 100%ing it, just like I did way back in ye olde 2003, but fuck me, those must have been simpler times or I had a lot more patience than I do now. Because try as I might, I could never find the last couple of purple scents in each area. And I looked so bloody hard my eyeballs started drying out. But there was always 1 or 2 that I just couldn't locate. I even started to convince myself this was some form of copyright protection implemented into the game. I was being a naughty girl and emulating it, you see. So maybe this was the developer's way of punishing me for doing so. But no, it's just insanely difficult to find them all. Mainly because they don't show up in your field of view until you're pretty much on top of them in some places. And even if you try to methodically check each section in a given area, you'll frequently lose track of where you got to, as picking up all of any other colour scent will teleport you into a minigame. And once that minigame finishes, you're not helpfully teleported back to where you originally were, so... Also, why can I see my own shit scents from 40 miles away, but I can't spot a purple scent unless it's right in front of my feckin' nose? But by far, the worst thing the developers did to make tracking down the purple scents an absolute chore was colouring them almost exactly the same as the scent that comes off the local people. It's fine if you're in an area with barely any human beings, but check out the ski slope area as an example of piss-poor gameplay design. Do you hate children, developers? That's what it is, isn't it? You just don't want to see children happy. I did find out after I finished the game that I could hold down R1 to make Jake point in the direction of a scent. Yeah, thanks a lot, devs. So out of all the tutorials you gave me, like the directional pad makes you move and X makes you jump, you didn't think to mention pressing R1 would help me locate a nearby scent. Well, never mind, I'll just pop back in the game and revisit the areas I didn't collect. Oh, the game didn't save my progress after I finished the last area. I can't remember if you do get anything for 100%ing Dog's Life, and I can't be asked to find out, as binging this game for 6 hours straight in one evening, and cursing profusely at the third-person camera's ineptness, has been more than enough of an experience to last me another 15 years. But if anybody does happen to know, please share with the class. Oh god, I'm off track now, where was I? Scents, yeah. There's different colours and they all do different things innit. Purple I already mentioned, but there's also green for races, orange for tug-of-war, cyan for the digging challenge, yellow for the pea marking game, ha ha, pink for pursuit, red for the doggy equivalent of Simon Says, and blue and violet that both essentially do the same thing, grab the scents before the timer runs out. Collecting all the scents of one colour, bar blue and violet, will have Jake pitted against the local dog in a challenge, and winning said challenge will award him with either a bone or control over the local dog, which will in turn lead to another bone. The mini-games themselves are fairly entertaining for what they are, I guess, especially when you consider the game's demographic. And if you're a fan of digging, running and pissing on everything in sight, or you are in fact a dog, then wahey, you struck gold with this one. They do get a little repetitive as time goes on, but given Dog's Life only has a runtime of about 5 to 6 hours, dependent on how obsessive you are about collecting things, and I managed to complete each minigame first try, I'll let this one slide. Controlling the various local dogs was a tad disappointing though. It would have been awesome if they made a significant difference to the game, like maybe they could tag along once you beat them in a challenge, and you could swap between the dogs depending on the situation. The Chihuahua could access areas too small for Jake, or one of the stronger breeds could be used to push or pull heavy objects, blah blah blah, you get the idea. As it stands, however, the local dogs can't leave the area they're tied to, and most of the tasks involving them are fairly simple and short. Use the Chihuahua to go into the house and retrieve a bone, or use the police dog to pull open the warehouse doors, the latter of which felt completely idiotic to do. You mean to tell me Jake knows to push a button to give himself a clear path, jump between platforms, pull these extremely heavy looking crates to make another path, navigate his way around the rooftop in order to enter the adjacent warehouse, but he can't work out how to open a bolt door?
It won't move.
And one of the other local dogs had no purpose in the game whatsoever. In the mountaintops area, you're supposed to use the Mastiff to pull a fallen tree so Jake can use it to cross, but I ended up somehow jumping the entire gap before I'd even moved the log, rendering the Mastiff obsolete. Speaking of which, I need to go into a bit more detail about the platforming in Dog's Life. At times, it works beautifully, and other times it's downright rage-inducing. See, the problem comes when the game tries to take control and compensate for your actions. For the most part, it's fine, as it means you can miss out on some cumbersome crate hopping and jump straight to the top of where you need to be, or even have the game do the platforming for you, such as when you need to jump over gaps. But then the game gets overzealous and starts to launch you over entire platforming sections, or jump Jake off walls you just spent 5 minutes climbing up as you wrestled with the third-person camera's shitty perspective. But God forbid you try and step up on the sidewalk. Now that is dangerous. It's a good thing the game fought me for control here. What if Jake stubbed his toe, or got run down by a passing old lady on a mobility scooter? You'd think the platforming couldn't get any worse than this, but I still have 2 more issues to gripe about. Firstly, trying to angle Jake for a jump is a nightmare in itself, due to the fact making him back up or turn left and right is like trying to parallel park a tank. Secondly, if Jake gets injured somehow, it'll impact his speed. It won't affect jumping, but you're gonna feel it when you need to waddle your way from point A to point B in an area, and the more injured he gets, the slower he becomes. Sometimes he'll be injured in the most ridiculous of ways too. You can recover him back to full strength by eating food, but I'd stupidly nommed every scrap I could find beforehand because I'm a greedy little piglet. Whoopsie! And just to rub salt into the wound, some of the food you'll eat will be rotten, causing Jake to take damage once again.
Yikes.
Yay, more farting! Grooming parlours are also an option for health recovery, but there isn't one in every area, and no way in doggy hell am I shuffling Jake's ass through 3 separate areas just to find one. The worst of it all is you can't just have him die and restart back at full health, as there's no death in Dog's life. You either have to hope you can find food or a grooming parlour, save and reload the game to go back to full health, or put up with it because you're tired of this game and you want to start writing the script and you just want this bloody experience to be over with and you're so close to the end that even reloading for 30 seconds is too much to bear. And that's pretty much the gist of Dog's life. You make your way through various areas ranging from Midwestern farms and towns, snowy mountaintops, the big city, and even literal hell on earth, and you hunt down all the bones you can find to make Jake a super dog. Whether that be from collecting scents, winning minigames, or completing tasks for the human beings is really up to how dedicated you are. And even if you do need quite a few bones to make it to the grand finale, it's nice that the game doesn't limit how you go about doing this. At the beginning of Dog's life, for instance, you don't have to stay at the farmhouse. You could make your way to the watermill, the chicken farm, the village, and even the town centre. And in terms of finding enough bones, I stopped collecting purple scents about 1/3 of the way into the game due to the tediousness of trying to locate them all, and focused solely on digging up bones or playing minigames. Even deliberately missing out on one of the collectibles, I still had far more bones than any other dog I came across, giving me a massive advantage in any challenge that was thrown at me. I'm seriously grateful for this, as backtracking in this game to try and pick up anything you missed can be a god-awful affair. The problem is there's no nifty teleport to area button, and whilst I do find the storybook page transition when you load into a new area quirky and unique, I'd rather just have a big ugly loading screen bar and have the game send me to my destination within 20 seconds. Not to mention travelling to certain areas hits you with pointlessly drawn out cutscenes. For example, once I had bested Killer, the dog catcher's Doberman in the centre area, I wanted to go into the train station to see if there were any scents hidden around the corners. But to my dismay, Jake took control and automatically jumped onto the train. So I had to sit through 15 seconds of watching a train slowly pull out of a station. Then there was one of those delightful cutscenes with Wayne and Dwayne, which took a whole minute to fuck off. And then there was a further 25 seconds of watching the train slowly pull into the next station before I finally got control over Jake again. But of course I didn't want to be here yet, so I hopped back onto the train to head to the centre again, and that was another 40 seconds in total. If you discount the cutscene with Dumb and Dumber, that entire round trip just took me 1 minute and 20 seconds to move between 2 areas. Cheese and crackers, Grommet! Also, how is the train pulling into the centre station from the same direction it left in? Yes, I'm being extremely nitpicky here, games have loading times after all, but imagine if you were on one of the very last areas, say the park, and you realised you'd missed a collectible at the chicken farm. You'd have to run through the park, the station, hop on a train back to the cafe area.
The power of Christ compels you! The power of Christ compels you!
Hop onto the adjacent train to go back to the centre, run through the centre, the village houses, the big field, and finally you'd be at the chicken farm. Imagine all the loading you'd have to put up with now. Imagine it! And you know what? As of writing this, I've just suddenly realised something. I completely missed out on an entire area of the game. Once I finished the park, I went straight into the dog pound, as once again I had a vastly superior amount of bones to Killer. But at the other end of the park is a separate road that leads to the city centre. Huh. You know what, I don't care. Look, I've given Dog's Life a lot of grief today, but that's not to say I didn't enjoy my time with it. Especially with those nostalgia vibes hitting me so hard. And the game does do some things right in my opinion. For instance, even with the game's demographic in mind, it tries its best not to hold your hand throughout each task you get given. And while a few of them are painfully simple, sometimes confusingly so,
better get rid of those birds for him before he has a heart attack or something.
Success! That ends their reign of bird poop! Couldn't have done it without you, Private. You are a first-class bird dog.
Others can leave you scratching your head until you have that aha moment. For example, in the watermill area, a swan grabbed a hold of one of the bones I intended to collect, and as much as I tried, I could not catch the bloody thing as it was in its element paddling along the lake. After racing the local Dalmatian, however, I realised my furry-spotted opponent was an exceptionally good swimmer. Oh! Another situation involved slippery ice and even more birds. The local cafe was having issues with pigeons pestering its visitors, and so the waiter tasks Jake with clearing them out. I'm not sure why everybody assumes I understand English, but let's not question that this far in. Try as he might, Jake won't be able to effectively scare away the bastard birds because they land on the frozen lake. And frozen lake equals ice physics, everybody's favourite game mechanic. The local boxer, however, has good traction on the lake. Oh!
I'm amazed. You're like one of those mythical creatures with marvelous magic powers. You astonish me, sir.
Why do you all have bones on you anyway? Was my arrival foretold? Do the humans of this world also eat bones? Why am I questioning this in a game that allows me to throw feces at people?
Hey, a stray mutt?
Speaking of the local yokels, they come in a variety of eclectic flavours such as low IQ Midwestern hillbilly and eccentrically gay guy in a wig and...
Well, bless my soul. This wig makes me all shook up.
Okay, yeah, they're not the most remarkable of people, and it's a bit of a shame I have to complain about this after finally having something to praise the game about. But just look at them! You know what, actually, listen to them too.
Now I can finish making them dog cages for the dog catcher. There you go, little guy. I love my axe. Yippee-i-oh-ki-yay! Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy!
Mind you, it is a game about a dog whose magic power is farting. What did I expect? Speaking of which, and I can't believe the thought of a flatulent canine has sparked a memory in me, but I never told you about that very last area. So you thought the dog pound was bad. Get a load of this.
My gosh. Daisy! Daisy! She can't hear me. Daisy! I've got to turn off the big machine. But how?
So the cutscene that plays just before you enter the finale explains what Miss Peaches intends to do with Daisy and all the other dogs she sent her henchmen to nab.
Nice and clean, lean yet tender. She will make a soft and sensitive treat, sliced, diced, and mashed into a delicious pâté by the big machine. Once I have tested it on her, full production will commence.
Cat food made from dogs.
What? What the fuck?
The goal here is to make your way around the big machine and press the various buttons or pull levers to turn off each section in order to stop Daisy being steamed, grinded, mashed, and sliced into tiny little pieces.
Is this really necessary?
I dunno, is it? When you stop the last piece of machinery, Daisy will finally be freed. But before she and Jake can have a good old doggy smooch, Miss Peaches turns up to put an end to them once and for all. And you know what? I'm just gonna let you watch this scene and judge it for yourselves.
Thought you'd outwit Miss Peaches, didn't you, you disgusting creatures? Now you will both be transformed into nice, gooey food for my precious kitty cats. Get your doggy asses into the big machine.
Speaking of food, I had beans and cabbages for supper. Take this, cat lady.
Canning Miss Peaches cat food.
I'll get you for this, you horrible hounds! I'll track you down! I'll slice you! I'll dice you! I'll mash you! If it's the last thing you see me...
Slicing, dicing, mashing. Miss Peaches is cat food.
Okay, and we're done. Jake gives some exposition as to what happened to various characters he met along the trip. He and Daisy are now a couple, and yeah, that's it. Credit roll. Like I said before, the game doesn't save your progress past this point, so if you want to 100% Dog's Life, you have to make sure you collect everything before entering the finale. But given I have no intentions of going back and doing so, I'm done with this game. And what a peculiar ride it's been. It's strange how the game goes from fairly whimsical and bouncy throughout most of its runtime, and then hits you with these last two hellscape areas. I suppose one could argue the pound and the finale are seen through Jake's eyes, the eyes of a dog. So of course they're going to look foreboding and morbid and graphic, but remember, this is a game for kids. Were the developers on crack when they wrote the last section of gameplay? But my opinion on Dog's Life has definitely changed on second playthrough. What I once saw as a fantastic, out-of-this-world doggy experience is now just an okay game with some fun mechanics, glaring control issues here and there, and one too many fart jokes. It's also funny how things I found hilarious as a kid are tiresome as an adult, but things I took no notice of 15 years ago make me now go, huh. The Smellovision ability, for example, is certainly interesting, and I love the fact your view is actually faded off colour in this mode to simulate how a dog sees the world. However, as riveting as it is, it can get tiring to constantly be in this first-person perspective, especially when the field of view is so limited. But swapping between first and third person for even a few seconds can result in you missing one of the purple scents and struggling to find it later on. The platforming in Dog's Life is somehow both smooth and responsive, and finicky and overcompensating. If I was making this game, or a game like this, I would have done away with the automatic jumping completely and allowed the player to work it out for themselves. And the people you come across in this game, oh my god, the people! As if blurting out random quotes over and over wasn't irritating enough, some of these animations and dialogue exchanges, man. I can't even describe how awkward they are, so I'll just play you the clips and you can judge for yourself.
Thanks, Pooch. You wait here. The suspect may be armed.
Hey! Where's my sleeping bandit mask? Take that, Sheriff! What the? Please, don't shoot! I'm not feeling lucky!
Gee, thanks! My wife bought me this for my birthday. Suits me, don't you think?
Far out, dog dude, but I need 3 more to power up my amp. Then it's Bone City for you.
Bone. He said the magic word.
So yeah, Dog's Life isn't the cleanest cut game out there, but at least it doesn't overstay its welcome. If you're doing the absolute bare minimum and you don't get lost, I'd say you could finish the game in under 6 hours. And while I have my gripes with the platforming and tank controls, when you're not trying to scale what feels like the equivalent of Mount Everest, the game feels very responsive. Jake turns quite smoothly, his jump is very forgiving, sometimes overly so, and he really does feel like a dog, bounding through fields, chasing away crows, and pestering the local livestock. And that's pretty much Dog's Life. Fugly graphics, weird animations, embarrassing dialogue, surprisingly dark story for a kids game, but overall, a fun little romp that you can waste 5 to 6 hours of your time in. So yeah, there you go, that's my review on the little dog that could throw poop. If you played this weird and wacky game as a kid, I'd love to hear your thoughts on it in the comments section. And if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like as it really helps me out. That's all for now, peace out guys! Shout out to supporters Klaxon, Thomas Hinton, Jeffrey Thomas, Ray Zach, Mr. Zugador, Ross Ward, Samuel DeBoss, Poplio the Destroyer, Merendor, Trevor, and Oblivion. Thank you to everyone who continues to support me and the channel on Patreon. No matter how small the donation, it really means so much to me. And also thank you to everyone who's a member on YouTube, who always stays a subscriber and watches everything I do, no matter how crazy, whether it's reviews, the occasional Let's Play, one day going back to live streaming if I ever get good internet. But yeah, I really do appreciate all the support and comments and likes. Yeah, you guys are friggin' awesome. I cannot say that enough. So thank you once again from the bottom of my heart. And ta-ta!